Good morning, story trading VIPs. Man, I am happy that we are not talking about the indices lately. So let's see how long we can keep that for. I don't even have it at the top of my list. Now, I know some of you are curious, so I'll pull it up and I'll just give you my quick take again. I don't think we're going to see another leg down until we get a warning from an Apple or Microsoft, and that may or may not happen. I think it will happen, but it's not guaranteed. So look, we retracted all the way to that 200-week moving average just above it, which fits the pattern of previous big corrections, just above the 200-week moving average. So I'm very comfortable now in my long positions. I think stocks are now trading on their own merits, particularly risk assets and ARKK being a proxy for that. So things are good for now, but be prepared for the possibility of another big shoe to drop in the next month or so based on either inflation data or Apple warning, something like that. In the meantime, I'm back to my old game, all right? Focusing on individual stocks, trading catalysts, and sentiment. It's starting to work well. So let's look at a few of the picks here. So it was my fault I didn't bring AGRX to the forefront in the community because this was actually uh, presented in our VIP research room by Tony, who's been an absolute fire with a lot of other picks, including PLAB, and got the story down on LLKKF. He did great on that. So he put this out there as a Roe v. Wade pick on Friday before it moved. Look at this. This is Friday, June 24th. Right, they have a birth control patch. So he put this out there. A bunch of our people in our community got it last Friday at 119, and then boom, they had a chance to sell yesterday. So my fault. I didn't pay attention to Tony. Shame on me. I did not elevate that conversation, amplify that conversation, but we did talk about it yesterday after I saw the boom. Obviously, my mistake. I ended up getting in at 147, very small position. I did not average down when it filled the gap. Maybe I should have, but I sold almost all my shares this morning in the 170 to 175 ish average. Probably I sold most of my shares. I'm keeping 1,000 shares just for fun. So this is the Roe v. Wade trade. It still has legs, and let me just show you a couple others on the Roe v. Wade trade. EVFM, and they actually had news this morning. They also have a birth control patch, I believe, but they have is the news even here? June 28th. Yeah, after a new deal with PBM. All right. So company announced an agreement with a pharmacy benefit manager to ensure and fill their FEXI prescriptions. So you can see there's real legs here with this sector. Another one is FEMY, which is down this morning, but it's been up for a few days. In any case, there was also some additional news I shared in the research room about Plan B pills. There's a run on them in all the pharmacies, and pharmacies are limiting how many people can buy. So this theme definitely has legs. I don't know how long it's going to run for. AGRX is a serial diluter. So I'm not like I wasn't anxious to hold on to a long-term position here. I did reach out to Rex because Rex is an expert in these like supernova type plays. This morning I had a little chat with him, and he thought mid 180s was the peak in AGRX. This was early this morning, so that's part of the reason I sold this morning when it started reaching the mid 170s towards 180. I sold everything out, and I'll be continuing to chat with them throughout the day to see if something changes and if this could turn into a supernova play. But right now we don't have that signal. So I did sell most of my shares in AGRX, and we'll be watching that. So great pick by Tony. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. A couple other ones. Last night, XXII and SMR, I presented these as Trade of the Week ideas on the Wolf Financial Spaces show. Now, I did sell some of my XXII because I wasn't thrilled about the fact that these tails on these candles kept going below the 200 DMA, but it did manage to break back above it. So this is just a great story. You know the story. It's over the 200 DMA. Any stock over the 200 DMA, I think, especially if it has a sentiment or catalyst, anything like that, is worth perhaps keeping some of it because obviously that's a bullish support line if it holds. And Paulo brought this to our community, and he's pretty bullish about this after the news on nicotine legislation that Biden wants to do. He thinks this company will be bought out by Big Tobacco, possibly for like $5-6 or so or more. So that's XXII. I'm still holding some of that. Trade of the week pick. Now, SMR, this is really interesting. We've been talking about this in the VIP research room. This is a DSPAC. It used to be SV. This is the it's a nuclear energy play. SMR stands for small modular reactors. So this is a new type of nuclear reactor, which is supposed to be 1,000 times safer than large nuclear reactors. Now, this is interesting. I shared the catalyst that came on Sunday that the White House at the G7 summit announced some sort of initiative with SMR. And subsequently, the research we've done in the VIP research room has gotten a lot of great feedback from Tony, again, who's excellent in this space with alternative energy, Sanjay and others have done a little bit of research on this and think that, this is potentially a good pick for the long term. So I also went out and did a little research, connecting with traders on social media, and I talked to a couple of them, one publicly, one privately, out on Twitter, and this is also potentially set up nicely as far as what traders look for in DSPACs, right? Most of the float apparently is locked up by Floor, FLUR, their majority holder. In fact, speaking of Floor, this is one of the reasons Tony's so bullish on it. They're a majority holder in SMR. But anyway, there's some Japanese investors in Floor which hold most of the float. There's not been any. There's an expert trader in SPAC, DSPAC traders. I was talking DSPAC trades. Said there's not been any unlocks, big share unlocks that have happened. So the float is very small. Yesterday was a high here, a new high since it DSPAC'd. I don't have the chart pre-DSPAC, so I don't know if it was higher. I'm guessing not. So yesterday is probably an all-time high near 11. So this is something that as I collaborate more with people, I'm getting positive signals on fundamentals, on technicals, on potential, the share structure, things like that, which could make it a good trade. So I did add some of this in my IRA yesterday because I love the technology. We shared a YouTube video about their technology. The TAM is enormous for small modular reactors. So I have a small starter position in my IRA, but I may look at this today to potentially pick up some trading shares. I may be looking at the warrants. There are also warrants over here. So let's look them up. That's new scale. Here we go. SMR Plus is a symbol on TD Ameritrade. So interesting that the warrants are 232, but the stock's at a high. Yet the warrants previously were at a high of 270. So perhaps an opportunity there if the share price holds up over here. So anyway, that's SMR. Now I want to take DRIO because we had a big move yesterday. I presented this as a trade of the week idea on the Stock Talk Weekly show on Sunday night, and that just took off, up 13% in one day. I'm right up there, tied for the lead, I think, in the competition. There were 30 stocks picked. AMC was the other one, basically tied with me right now by my colleague Vegas, actually. So she did a good job on that. But anyway, now that DRIO went up 13%, what do we do here? First of all, I think the easy money on that trade has been made. So I loaded up on some extra trading shares Friday and I sold them, right? But we're waiting on possible huge news, right? And this is my largest position. It was a very small trade position. I took Friday and I sold Monday. Let's talk about expectations for how this can go. I like to think through multiple different scenarios on this so I could be psychologically be prepared to take action. All right. So first of all, the first thing that can happen is that the deal's just not announced by end of quarter. End of quarter is like the end of this week. Now, let's say they launch by end of quarter, give them, they have to prepare the PR and everything. So let's say next week, let's look at our calendar over here. So let's say end of quarter is June 30th. You want to give them a couple days to write the PR. It's a long weekend. So maybe July 5th would be kind of my line in the sand. Now, what's going to happen if this doesn't, PR by July 5th? You could start seeing a sell-off. Okay, number one. So be aware of that. And take appropriate whatever action you want to take. If later this week you want to maybe take some risk off the table, you could do that. But listen, I was talking to Erez a couple weeks ago, and he's like, hey, this is not you know, this is icing on the cake, this deal, right? None of the financial models are baking this in. None of the analysts, price targets, or anything are baking this in. So people shouldn't panic, right? If it's not, he didn't say this directly. This is what I read between the lines, right? Reading between the lines, Erez was trying to tell me, hey, if it doesn't, if it happens on a delay or it doesn't happen, it's not a big deal. Now I have no indication that it's not going to happen. Everything he's told me and the company has said publicly, I think it is going to happen, but probably on a delay, because their track record has been everything they've promised happens, but on a delay, right? So that's my expectation, is this will happen. Probably won't be announced this week. Probably won't be announced next Tuesday. If it is announced this week or next Tuesday, wow, I think it'll blindside the market and the stock just goes. So where would it go if and when the deal is announced? So let's assume the price is right where it is now, 590. Forget about that 620. If it's right now announced, where will the stock go? Fundamentally, valuation wise, technically, taking all that into account, I think you're going to have to at least visit this previous resistance of 770, because this is a new deal that fundamentally is going to add value to the company and also make it much more possible to reach those analyst price targets of the mid 20s by next year. So I think at the least we could make a move to 770. And then this is really where I think we got to go, because the 200 DMA to me represents a fundamental inflection point, right? Technicals are a representation of fundamentals. So when you're below the 200 DMA, it's telling you the net market opinion of the stock is, hey, fundamentals are weak here. They have some issues. So when you have a deal like this, I think that you have to start playing with that 200 DMA. You have to start inflecting around it, right? You have to start interacting around it. And I think ultimately it will rise above the 200 DMA, but a move from like 5 or 6 to 10, that's huge percentage wise. You can't expect a stock to just jump and gap open above the 10. So basically, those are the two levels I'm looking at. It's what's the previous resistance before this new fundamental news comes, 770, and then what's that major inflection point in terms of fundamentals, that interaction that has to happen is going to be at 10. So this is the range, 770 to 10, where I think the stock could be trading within the same day or within a couple days after the announcement. And that's my reference point for how I'm going to trade the stock. If the stock opens at like $10, I may take some off the table, okay, because that's going to be a resistance level for a while, I think. I mean, we'll see. Eventually, I think it's going to break above 10. You get some analyst upgrades, things like that, and you can go to the 15s and eventually 20. But for me, I have a huge position. I would definitely sell some at 10. Now, if we gap open to like 770, right? Anywhere in between, basically, anywhere between the previous day close and 770, that's an area where I might get very, very aggressive with a short-term trading position. I might even buy call options with a short-term expiry, because I think very, very possible within hours or days. And this is an opportunity to make a ton of money if you get somewhere in there, right? Between 6 and 770, I think that's a very cheap price for that type of news with the national insurer deal, and you can expect to move to 10. So that's how I'm going to play it. But be advised, take some time to read the press release to make sure it's what we expected, right? To make sure, hopefully they'll have some numbers in there. Maybe they'll have say, hey, we're going to have a conference call to talk about it. We want to make sure that this press release represents something that's an inflection point for the company and not something that was downsized, right? Because they previously guided that this could bring in 10 million revenue in 2023 and potentially like 100 million beyond that as the relationship matures. So I want to look for language in there that at least doesn't contradict that, right? They may be vague about it. That may be fine. If they say national insurance launch, they're going to be covering, I think it's for mental health, they've said, for a few dollars a month, whatever it is, like an access fee. They've given some details on the conference calls. If it seems to match that, and that's what we've been waiting for, then what I just said applies, right? $10 your target, and between the previous day's close and 770, that's where it would pile in for a trade. And again, just be aware, if it doesn't happen, it could go down, right? So take whatever action you want. I'm probably not going to take too much action in case the deal doesn't happen, unless the stock like runs to 770 to 10 before the deal somehow. If that happens, then yeah, I'll take some off the table. But I'm not so worried if the deal is delayed, even substantially delayed by a quarter or two. I think the fundamentals and momentum they have with the other clients is good enough to still warrant that this is a very cheap price. So, but the market may react though if the deal doesn't come. So that's the story with DRIO. I have now. I want to just point out. Look, we are developing a few picks here from our community, which are turning out to be winners and outperformers. And I'm very happy. With great collaboration from the community. Clearfeld from Chris Harbert. He's updating us frequently on the happenings here and giving us conviction and confidence that this is a good long-term hold. So I've been adding to this over the last few weeks in my IRA, and I'm really comfortable with this telecommunications play, recession-resistant value play. It shows a 27 PE, but that's going to be reducing with all the new business they're getting. And you can see here it's above all the major DMAs, so it's an outperformer compared to the market. CLFD. Another one, PLAB, which I highly endorsed as a trade of the week by my colleague Andrew O'Connell from Pristine Capital. He had that Sunday night in the Stock Talk Weekly show. Also, last night was reiterated as a trade of the week on the Wolf Financials show. I love the stock. Great research we did. If you didn't see it, you got to see it. I mean, I'm so excited about this company. I think this could be like even better than Air, honestly. I'm not talking about return from 2 to 20. I'm not saying a 10 bagger, but in terms of the technology and the long-term outlook for this technology in the semiconductor space, PLAB, go to youtube.com/storytrading, look up PLAB, look at the presentation we did with Tony. It's really awesome. And I think short-term, this is going to 23 or more. PLAB. So this is something in my IRA. I'm trying to trade around it. I got bulk of this move after earnings from like 18 to 22-ish. And I sold some at like 20, 21, 22-ish also on the way down because of macro. And then I got back in yesterday actually at 2072, I think it was, or 2078. Yeah. All right. So I missed the bottom. That's fine. I had 100 tracking shares. I picked up a nice position about 2078 yesterday. So PLAB, great company. Another one, RELL. We did great research. Was brought to us by Julian, and this is hitting new 52-week highs. Look at this chart, unbelievable. So this one has an even lower PE, 16.73. We know all about their alternative batteries for solar and wind and everything like that. They're working on potentially EVs, EV trains, locomotives. I have a lot of tailwinds. Company's doing great. What a cup and handle. Oh my gosh, is it going to 18? I think it might be going to 18. So RELL, another great pick. And then we have Celsius, which is also a VIP pick. I think we had a presentation on that with Jonah Lupton and Mark Gomes, a dual presentation there. I think it was on Twitter Spaces, but we put it up on our YouTube as well. So that's something I have a long-term position in my IRA. So what I'm trying to say is the market is stable enough for solid companies to start doing well and being above their key moving averages and hit new 52-week and highs and all-time highs. We're getting that price action in the right stocks in a market which sucks. So congratulations to everyone and all the collaboration we've been doing. This is what I've been waiting for. This is now back to our normal routine. Shoe drops, all right? If it drops, hopefully it won't. So that's the story with that. I got a couple trading positions here in CYRN. This is just a trade. Sentiment tailwinds on cybersecurity. I've been talking to you about this. 50 DMA. They sold. They have a 10.5 million cash infusion coming in with an asset sale and 17 million, and only like the EVs like 8 million. So like this seems like very low risk. A good risk reward here on CYRN as a trade. I'm targeting 270 on that, by the way. 270, which is the top of these candles right there on these 2 days. 270 is what I'm looking for CYRN. This uranium play, still have it. I sold some covered calls yesterday. And actually, I added some additional shares as well as selling those covered calls because I think this could move a little bit higher. 20 DMAs at 6. Those uranium stocks are coming back a little bit with the oil rebound. VTSI has been very disappointing to me. I have an overweight trading position. It did not catch on with the sentiment and the catalyst of being on CNN and the potential riots and everything. It's not acting like a riot play. Very, very disappointed in that price action. PE is very low. I don't know what to tell you. It sucks, right? Maybe it's because they haven't filed. They're behind on their filings and people just avoid it. or very low liquidity. I don't know, but I'm kind of stuck with an overweight position on this, but I'm not selling because the PE is real low, and we know the story there. So that's a VTSI, and that's about it. Continuing to monitor some big picks, big positions of mine, CFEI, Kodak. Uh, Nothing too exciting to write home about those. We're waiting for Mogo from Neeraj in our community for some news. I can rocket that. I don't have a position. Oh, Occidental Petroleum. I added this the other week when Warren Buffett added, and he keeps on buying like every day. And another insider buy came out. He now owns 16.4% of Occidental Petroleum. Wow, that's interesting conviction. Berkshire has on OXY. That gives me some conviction. I don't have too many safe large cap plays in my entire portfolio, but I wanted some oil exposure, and what better to follow Warren Buffett. So happy with that position on Oxy I picked up last week. And that's the story, guys. Let's just check our news feed here to see if there's anything new that came in since we started. Rumble partners with RSBN for exclusive live streams and ad management. Let's read about that. Is that the only news? Yeah. All right, let's read about that. Where I'm familiar with RSBN. Oops, they're one of the biggest right-wing news streaming sites. They have like millions of followers on YouTube. Let's see. Video sharing platform Rumble announced an exclusive partnership, exclusive to manage advertisements, including host-read live advertisements. This seems like a new endeavor for Rumble for the network through the end of 2022. That's just must be like a test. That's like 5 months. As part of the partnership, RSBN will stream the featured portions of its live political coverage exclusively to Rumble. So they're no longer going to be posting these on YouTube. What's been happening with RSBN, they're kind of forced into this because very often they'll post the live Donald Trump rallies, and then YouTube will like take down the Donald Trump rallies right at the end or midstream or something. So it's been a difficult run there anyway, but they have a lot of followers on YouTube. But at this point, I guess not worth the trouble. So Right Side Broadcasting, here we go. They have 1.5 million subscribers. As you see, 236 million total views. So let's see if that knocks us. I have a little bit of a position I picked up. I wish I got a better price at $10.14, whatever. Again, one of these low risk, good risk reward plays. If we get news, it can pop. I don't know if this is going to be it because this is right wing news. I like to see when they have mainstream partners rather than the right wing characters coming in for CFVI. That's all we got. I'm monitoring Dollar Tree. Obviously, that company's doing really well in recession, and that's on my watch list. So I don't know what that news is about. But anyway, guys, listen, continue the collaboration. We can't do what we're doing without your input. Most of the top stocks here are coming from people in the community. Even if you're not sure about it, sometimes I'll go ahead and I'll champion something. I'll pick it up. Like I did with RELL and some others. RELL that was brought to us by Julian. So you don't have to do all the work, right? If you have a short thesis, you can present it. If there's some nuggets or some catalysts, give it to us in the VIP research room or the trading room. And who knows, it might turn out to be something really good. We might bring management on like we did with RELL. It might become a VIP pick. And as you can see, we're really outperforming with our VIP picks. So thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you later. And if you're not a VIP member, head on to StoryTrading.com. You can upgrade there to get these live.